In some parts of America, fathers could not provide land for all their sons as they had earlier, and their sons were growing up with a keener sense of both old limitations and new possibilities. Personal relationships and values within the family were transformed. Families cut some of their ties to the outside world and became much more private and insular. Servants were more difficult to acquire, and their relationship to the other members of the household became less intimate. The family core of father, mother, and children became more distinct from the household, and affection became more important than dependency in holding the family together. Lower infant and childhood mortality enabled parents to make a greater emotional investment in their offspring. Parents paid more attention to the individuality of each child and sentimentalized the family's inner relationships. The practice now developed of giving children affectionate nicknames and composite family portraits, including father, mother, and children, became much more common. Although the family remained hierarchical, the mutual relationships of its nuclear members became more complicated. Sons were no longer seen simply as the representatives of the stem line of the family, and after mid-century, fathers were less apt to name a son after themselves. The individual desires of children now seemed to outweigh traditional concerns with family lineage. Parents familiar with the larger cosmopolitan and genteel culture could scarcely have avoided becoming preoccupied with the question of how best to bring up their children and with redefining their parental authority. From every quarter of the cultivated world, they were besieged with advice on what it meant to be a parent. No theme was more central to the popular writing of the 18th century. Nearly every work of the age, whether of history, fiction, or pedagogy, from Marmontel's Memoirs to Goldsmith's Vicar of Wakefield to Chesterfield's Letters, dwelt on issues of familial responsibility and warned against the evils of parental tyranny and the harsh and arbitrary modes of child-rearing of an older, more savage age. Charles Rollin's Ancient History attacked primogeniture and other legal devices that supported an artificial patriarchal authority. Samuel Richardson's Clarissa criticized parents who placed family pride and wealth ahead of the desires and integrity of their children. Even Hogarth's popular series of prints, Marriage à la Mode, pointed out the dangers of parents arranging their children's marriages. Being a parent was no longer simply a biological fact. It was also a cultural responsibility. As Fenelon's Telemachus attested, a child's true parents were not his blood relatives, but those moral preceptors like Mentor who shaped his mind and raised him to become a reasoning, moral adult in a corrupt and complex world. Children were no longer merely dependents, but moral beings to be cared for and educated.